All right, let's talk about something that pretty much shapes our entire world, but in ways we barely even notice. We're diving into foreign trade, the real engine of our global economy, and, the thing that connects all of us. I mean, just stop and think about it for a sec. The phone you might be holding right now, the shirt on your back, maybe even the coffee you had this morning, it's so easy to just take it all for granted. But the story of how that stuff got to you, it's a huge global journey. Yeah, chances are, whatever you're thinking of traveled across entire continents. It was probably loaded onto these massive ships or planes, all part of this incredible, almost invisible network that connects you with people and places thousands of miles away. And that whole network, that's what we call foreign trade. So in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the absolute basics, then we'll get into why it is so critical for a country's success. And to do that, we're going to use the amazing transformation of India's economy as our guide. Okay, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page and get a super clear definition of what we're actually talking about. At its heart, it's actually pretty simple. When a car that's made in Germany gets sold in the US, or a call center in the Philippines handles customer service for a company in Australia, well, that's foreign trade. You might also hear people call it international trade or external trade. Don't worry, it all means the exact same thing. Now, this whole flow of goods goes in a few key directions. When a country buys stuff from another country, that's an import. So think about the US buying coffee beans from Colombia. When a country sells its stuff to another country, that's an export, like Germany selling cars to China. And then there's this really cool third category called entrepot trade. Get this. Imagine a country like Singapore imports a bunch of raw diamonds. They don't keep them. Instead, they cut and polish them, make them way more valuable, and then export them as finished jewelry. That's entrepot trade right there. So, okay, that's the what. But what about the big why? I mean, why do countries go through all this trouble to trade with each other? Well, the answer is everything. It's absolutely crucial. And this quote just nails it. Trade isn't some side project for a country. It's the engine that actually powers the economy, the thing that creates growth, jobs, and opportunity. So how exactly does this engine work? Well, for starters, trade brings in money from other countries, it attracts investors, and for us, the consumers, it gives us this huge variety of products to choose from. But the real magic trick here is specialization. It lets countries focus on doing what they do best. So Brazil can go all in on coffee beans, South Korea can focus on electronics, and then everybody benefits by trading for the stuff they don't make. It's like a global division of labor that, when it works right, makes everyone better off. And to see just how powerful this engine can be, let's look at a real-world example. Honestly, there are very few stories out there as dramatic as India's journey in global trade. Before its independence, India's role in the world economy was pretty limited. It was basically just a supplier of raw materials, like cotton and tea, for the big industrial colonial powers. But look at the situation now. It has completely flipped on its head. Today, India is a major exporter of complex, manufactured goods, and it imports the heavy machinery and things it needs to keep its own industries humming. It's a night and day difference. And this chart right here, it just screams transformation. Take a look at India's top exports. The single biggest slice of that pie isn't a raw material like cotton anymore, it's engineering goods. We're talking machinery, car parts, complex instruments. That's nearly a quarter of everything it sells to the world. A massive shift from its past. Okay, now let's flip it around and look at the other side of the coin, what India is buying. The number one import is petroleum and oil. And what does that tell us? It shows that to power its growing industries and factories, that economic engine we keep talking about, India needs a ton of energy from the global market. But the story doesn't stop there. The transformation isn't just about what India is trading. It's also about who it's trading with. And that list of partners tells an equally incredible story of change. Back in the colonial era, India's trade was almost all with Britain, period. But today, the picture could not be more different. Its biggest trading partners are now huge groups of countries, like the OECD, which includes the US and a lot of Europe, and, this is really important, other developing nations. That group now makes up over 40% of its trade. It went from one main trading partner to a truly global network. So you've got all these goods flowing in and all these goods flowing out. And that brings up a really important final question. How do we keep score? How does a country even know if it's winning at the game of trade? And this image right here, it's the perfect way to think about it. It really is a constant balancing act. Economists are always weighing the total value of everything a country sells to the world against the total value of everything it buys. And this whole concept is called the balance of trade. So the official definition is just the difference between the dollar value of exports and imports over a set amount of time. It's one of the most important checkups for an economy's health on the world stage. And really, there are two main outcomes on this scorecard. If a country sells more than it buys, it has a trade surplus, which is usually seen as a good thing. If it buys more than it sells, it has a trade deficit. Now, neither one is automatically good or bad by itself, but they tell a really important story about how a country's economy relates to the rest of the world. So, when you boil it all down, the crucial point is this. From the coffee in your mug to the fate of entire nations, foreign trade is just this incredibly powerful, unstoppable force. And like we saw with India, it can completely reshape a country, turning it from a simple supplier of raw materials into a global manufacturing powerhouse. It just redefines what's even possible. And that leaves us with a pretty big question for the future, right? We've seen these trade patterns change so dramatically over the last century. As our world gets even more connected and as new technologies keep popping up, what do you think the next great transformation in global trade is going to be? It's definitely something to think about.